Is Isabel Oakeshott, TalkTV's international editor, who joins us on the phone now. Good morning, Isabel.
Good morning, David. Well, what extraordinary developments over the last 24 hours. I can reveal some new information about what really went on behind the scenes and why it was that Nadine Dorries and Boris Johnson did what they did in such a hurry. And what happened was that they believe that they have been lied to for many months by Downing Street over the honours list that Boris Johnson wanted to put through. So Boris Johnson had put forward a long list of names for honours, including, in particular, 5 individuals who he wanted to receive peerages. There was a wider group of peers, and some of those were authorised. Now, what would normally happen, his camp claims, is that Downing Street would not interfere with that list. A sitting Prime Minister, it's not the done thing for them to meddle with the list put forward by the outgoing Prime Minister, not least because if they set that precedent, who knows what the next guy or woman might do to their list. So it's a kind of unwritten rule that sitting Prime Ministers don't mess around with the last person's nominations. What Boris Johnson's allies claim is that in this case, Sunak's allies very much did mess around with the list, removing 5 individuals from that list whilst telling Boris that his entire list had been put forward to the authorising committee in the normal way. So for the best part of 6 months, Boris and Nadine Dorries, his closest political ally, along with Nigel Adams, another MP who was due to receive a peerage, thought he was, Allegra Stratton, a former cabinet minister, and a man named David Ross, who is a very, very long-standing Tory donor and ally of Boris Johnson. All those 5 people thought that their names had gone forward to the committee. It is claimed that, in fact, those names were never put forward to the committee as a result of a plot inside Downing Street. A key figure in this plot, one James Forsyth, who is Boris Johnson's political secretary. Now, I've tried to speak to James Forsyth this morning, so I have to say now, he's not picking up the phone. I don't know his side of the story. But some may know that James Forsyth's married to Allegra Stratton, who is the woman who took the fall in Number 10 for Partygate, spectacularly resigning as one of those who was seen to have been responsible for that culture of partying during lockdown. So, question mark, was James Forsyth none too happy that his wife wasn't on any list of nominations? And might he have played a role in kiboshing Boris's nominations?
So fascinating. So there are lots of things in there, Isabel, and thank you so much for that. Just in terms of, you mentioned Allegra Stratton, so he's one of the names that I've heard from sources that may well be poised to resign. He obviously represents Reading West. He has a majority of some 4,000. Do you think it's likely he'll resign?
I don't have any inside information on Allegra Stratton. I mean, he may well feel that he's, run the length of the road in terms of cabinet ministerial jobs. He had a significant role through the pandemic as business secretary. He then went on to be slightly sort of shunted aside as leading the COP conference on climate change last year, something that I think he felt very disappointed about in terms of the outcome of that conference, and some may remember his tears at the end of it after they failed to reach the form of words that he would have wanted. So I don't know. I think that in a sense that it doesn't matter whether there's one more or 2 more. What you've got here is a terrible situation now for the Prime Minister, because he now has to decide whether, if Boris Johnson attempts to seek another seat, does he risk, Rishi Sunak, does he risk using the party machine to veto that attempt? Because there's no doubt that the Tory party machine can stop that happening. If they do that, what are the consequences of that? Has Boris Johnson got any cards left to play under those circumstances?
I mean, and also this morning it's being widely reporting that Boris Johnson is free and dangerous. This is by his backers. They're saying that David Campbell-Bannerman, of course, chairman of the Conservative Democratic Organisation, said this is a coup. I mean, from what you've told us, I mean, it is extraordinary. I was just looking this up, actually, and you talk about Forsyth being married to Allegra Stratton. Of course, it was Allegra Stratton on that video that was widely leaked in the mock press conference over COVID. And also, Forsyth, of course, is close friends with Rishi Sunak. He's very close friends with Rishi Sunak.
Absolutely. So Allegra Stratton worked for Rishi Sunak for several years. She was a key person on his press team, essentially head of communications. And so I expected, actually, that she would be somewhere on the list of honours. I didn't necessarily think she would get a peerage, but there are a long list of glorified press officers on that list from Boris Johnson's regime. And I thought that Allegra Stratton, having had to take that very humiliating fall, she basically became the fall guy for Partygate in the early days, when I think Downing Street hoped it would all go away without any other bigger losses. And she did that. And Boris Johnson, might have been expected to compensate her for that. After all, he's given gongs to people who were far less high profile and had paid far lower price, if any, for the Partygate fiasco. She wasn't on the list. And James Forsyth, quite understandably, may have been pretty peeved about that. So both of those two are very close to Sunak, and this is the allegation from Boris's side, that James Forsyth was pivotal in removing those lists. As I say, he may have another story. I haven't spoken to him. That is the toxic allegation that is being made.
I mean, also, I'm just reading here, Sunak was best man at Forsyth's wedding to Allegra Stratton as well. So they are extremely close. What happens from here, Isabel?
What happens from here is that Boris and Nadine Dorries and these other figures who have lost out are still licking their wounds. They're trying to work out what is their next play. I wouldn't expect anything instant. I think the dust needs to settle, and then more plotting begins. And they try to chart the path back for Boris. And they've got to work out whether all roads are closed, and does that mean he has to play a longer game? And is a longer game even worth playing? In my view, if Boris can't get back sooner than later, it will be too late for him. I think the Conservatives, and very damning polling out today by Lord Ashcroft, the pollster, which shows just what a dire position the Conservative Party is in, with Keir Starmer performing better on almost every opinion measure than Rishi Sunak. So if Boris cannot come back very, very quickly, it looks very like the party's going to go into opposition, at which point are they really going to choose somebody with so much baggage as their leader, or do they flip to the next generation?
Very good points indeed. Thank you so much, Isabel. Great to talk to you. That's Isabel Oakeshott, who is TalkTV's international editor, with the latest one.